for the final product or the new process. You review the team's accomplishments and lessons learned, and you prepare a final report. Each phase has its own set of goals, activities, tools, and skills. As a project manager, you'll articulate the goals, prepare your team to carry out the activities, and use each set of tools and skills as needed. See Table 1. Even though each phase is different, you'll find yourself returning to tasks from earlier phases. For example, you typically begin the planning phase with a ballpark figure for your budget and an estimated completion date for the project. Once you're in the build-up phase, you begin to define the details of the project plan. These details give you new information, so you revise the budget and schedule accordingly. This doesn't mean you're moving backward. You're just incorporating what you've learned into the overall plan. You're seeing more of the big picture with each step you take. Planning your project. The first phase in managing a project is to make an overall plan. Usually this involves just 5 steps. 1. Define the real problem. 2. Identify your stakeholders. 3. Set the project's goals. 4. Prepare for trade-offs. 5. Spell out the tasks. We'll look at each one in turn. Define the real problem. Too often, project managers leap to the solution before they completely understand what they are trying to solve. As a result, they miss the mark and disappoint their stakeholders. That's why defining the problem is such a critical step. Imagine you're an IT manager, for example, and you've been asked to lead a team developing a new database and data entry system. It would be tempting to jump right in, relying on your own assumptions about what the system should include. But will that solve your company's problem? First, you'll want to find out what your supervisors are trying to fix. Maybe they can't get data out of the system fast enough. Maybe they can't find all the information they require in one place. Before designing the new system, you need to know what outputs people are looking for, how they will use these outputs, how soon they must have the redesign, and so on. Unless you understand the underlying problem, you risk designing a solution that doesn't do what users need, or one that does far more than required. Either way, you're wasting time and money. To focus your efforts, answer these questions. What issue do people think this project will address? Why do they see this as a problem that needs solving? Who has a stake in the solution or outcome? Do all stakeholders have the same goal, or do their goals differ? What criteria will people use to judge this project's success? The wrong tool for the job. Sometimes a project request is just wrong-headed, as in the following fictional scenario. When Un's boss sees the slump in quarterly revenues, he reacts immediately. We need a new incentive plan ASAP. He always talks like that, wanting things ASAP and last week. He asks Un to launch a project to develop the plan. As an up-and-coming HR manager for a mid-sized hotel chain, Un is excited to lead her first company-wide project. But she knows that incentives aren't the problem. Most employees want to do a good job and serve customers well, but the hotel's processes and systems keep getting in the way. The company never puts enough time into training new recruits, and it shows. There are also problems with the registration system. How can Un tell her boss that a new incentive plan isn't the answer? She doesn't want to question the project's merits because this is a big opportunity for her, but she doesn't want to set herself up to fail. Un must help her boss clarify the project's goals. Given his ready, fire, aim style, she'll have to act quickly. For example, she might say to him, "I'm assuming..."